The mountain air was sharp, carrying the scent of pine and cold stone. Hiro had arrived at the secluded dojo, armed with ambition, skill, and impatience. He believed mastery came through practice, repetition, and the visible proof of success. Victories, recognition, medals. Yet Master Ren watched him silently, seeing the restlessness in his eyes, the distractions in his mind, the gap between effort and true presence. The strength is not in what you do, Ren said, his voice calm but commanding, but in how aware you are while doing it. Hiro scoffed, yet curiosity anchored him. For the first time, he sensed that the path he sought was not outside, in opponents or accolades, but inside, within his mind, his focus, his spirit. Zanshin, the eternal awareness, would be his guide. It promised mastery not through force, but through observation, presence, and deliberate action. Through meditation, discipline, and unseen labor. Hiro would learn the silent codes that all great warriors live by. Codes invisible to the untrained eye, yet ruthless in their power. Here, the impatient student would discover that the fiercest battles are not against others, but against the restless mind, the fragile ego, and the shadows within. This is the journey of the warrior who seeks mastery not in hours, but in presence, not in recognition, but in transformation. A path that begins with awareness and ends with the unshakable power of a mind in complete harmony with itself. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and share, so I can keep bringing you great content. Chapter 1. The restless student Hiro arrived at the mountain dojo before dawn. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of pine and the faint tang of cold stone. Mist curled around the jagged cliffs, hiding the world below, and yet the silence was alive, thick, patient, and just. He carried with him the arrogance of skill, the pride of accomplishments earned in cities and crowded arenas. In his hands, the polished wooden practice sword felt like an extension of himself, a token of victories that had never truly tested his spirit. Master Ren stood at the edge of the courtyard, observing. His posture was unassuming, yet every motion radiated an effortless authority. Hiro approached, bowing deeply, expecting approval, recognition, even praise. Ren's eyes, dark and still as obsidian, met his with a calm scrutiny that unsettled him. "You are fast," Ren said softly, "but your mind is faster still. It moves in all directions, yet remains nowhere." Hiro bristled. "I have trained for years. I am disciplined. I know this sword." Ren shook his head, smiling faintly. "Discipline is hollow without presence. A sword is nothing if the mind wavers. You come here seeking mastery, yet mastery begins not with motion, but with stillness." Hiro's impatience flared. He had traveled far, endured harsh conditions, yet now he was told to do nothing. To sit, to breathe, to observe. Ren gestured to the courtyard. "Sit for the first hour." Hiro obeyed reluctantly. His legs ached, his back stiffened, and the cold stone bit through his robes. His thoughts raced, techniques unpracticed, battles unseen, victories postponed. Every instinct screamed to move, to strike, to prove. But Ren remained silent, unwavering. By the second hour, frustration clawed at Hiro's chest. He shifted, cursed, and muttered under his breath. The fire of ambition burned hotter, threatening to consume the quiet patience required. Yet the more he resisted, the more he noticed the sensations he had never felt. The subtle shift of wind across the courtyard, the rhythm of his own heartbeat. The tension coiled beneath his muscles. Ren's voice finally broke the silence. Presence is not a concept to be learned. It is discovered when you stop running from your fear, your pride, your impatience. Hiro's heart sank. He had trained tirelessly to perfect his body, to sharpen his reflexes, to anticipate opponents. Yet no skill had prepared him for this inner battle. Stillness was foreign. Awareness was uncomfortable. And yet, as minutes stretched into hours, he glimpsed a strange clarity. His mind, freed from the tyranny of motion, began to notice itself. Thoughts rose, drifted, and fell away. The compulsive need to act dulled, replaced by a tentative, quiet attention to the present. Ren instructed him further, guiding Hiro through a series of meditative postures, slow breathing, and attentive observation of the smallest details. The curve of the courtyard stone, the sway of pine branches, the distant caw of a crow. Every sound, every movement became a teacher. Hiro realized that skill without awareness was like a river without water. Potential unfulfilled, power wasted. By evening, Hiro's muscles ached, yet his mind felt paradoxically lighter. He had not swung a sword, had not engaged in combat, had not demonstrated the prowess he had once thought defined mastery. And yet, in that silence, he began to sense something deeper. A foundation beneath technique, a rhythm beneath motion, a presence beneath impulse. Ren approached as the last light faded behind the mountains. Tomorrow, you will learn that effort alone is not mastery. Your mind is the battlefield you must first conquer. The restlessness you carry is the enemy you have yet to face. Only when it is tamed will your hands, your sword, and your spirit move as one. Hiro bowed again, humbled though unease lingered. He had arrived seeking strength, yet strength alone was no longer enough. The first lesson had been cruelly simple. The fiercest opponent was not outside. It was the chaos within. And in that realization, the restless student took the first step along the hidden path of true mastery. The morning air carried a quiet intensity as Master Ren led Hiro along a narrow, winding path. Mist clung to the trees, dampening sound, softening the world into muted shapes of green and gray. The mountains seemed to breathe with them, ancient and patient, indifferent to ambition or impatience. Hiro's muscles ached from the previous day's stillness, and his mind, though sharper, buzzed with scattered thoughts. He followed silently, sensing that the lesson awaiting him would pierce deeper than any sword strike. The path opened onto a secluded pond, its surface unnervingly still, reflecting not the sky or surrounding pines, but something deeper, something that made Hiro hesitate. "This is the mirror pond," Ren said quietly. "It does not show your face. It shows the state of your mind. Look carefully." Hiro crouched at the edge, gazing into the dark water. At first, he saw nothing but his own form, distorted by ripples. Yet as he focused, the reflection shifted, revealing the restless currents beneath his skin. Thoughts darted like fish, fleeting and chaotic. Ego and pride shimmered on the surface, fear coiled beneath. The reflection was humiliating, a mirror not of skill or accomplishment, but of distraction, impatience, and unacknowledged insecurities. Ren remained beside him, silent and observing, letting Hiro wrestle with the truth. "The distractions are not enemies outside you," Ren said finally. "They arise from the mind untamed. Each impulse, each desire, each craving for recognition. These are the currents that disrupt mastery. You must learn to observe them without attachment." Hiro swallowed hard. All his training, all his victories, all the accolades he had chased, they had done nothing to steady this restless mind. The more he looked, the more he saw patterns. His gaze flitting, his thoughts circling back on themselves, the subtle tension of fear beneath ambition. Each flaw was laid bare by the stillness of the pond, and Hiro felt the weight of his own self-deception. Rien instructed him to sit cross-legged by the water's edge, closing his eyes and focusing on breath. Inhale, exhale, exhale. Observe the rising and falling of thought. Name each impulse, pride, impatience, distraction, and release it without judgment. At first, Hiro's mind resisted. Thoughts erupted like wildfire, memories of past failures, anxieties about the future, flashes of desire for recognition. His body trembled, but he stayed. He breathed. He named the currents. Hours passed. Hiro began to notice subtle changes. Impulses no longer controlled him. Tension eased, and his awareness sharpened. He could watch thoughts arise and fall away like leaves drifting on water. Ren's voice, calm and steady, reinforced the lesson. The mind untamed drags skill into chaos. Awareness is the anchor. Presence is the path. Only when you see clearly can your hands, your sword, your spirit act without interference. By late afternoon, Hiro's reflection in the pond had transformed. The chaotic currents still existed, but he observed them without fear or frustration. The ego still shimmered, yet he was no longer entangled. For the first time, he felt a measure of control, not over outcomes, but over himself. Presence had become tangible, a quiet force flowing beneath every thought, every breath. Hiro realized that the principles of the mirror pond applied to every pursuit: martial arts, study, strategy, life itself. Distraction, impatience, and ego are always present, but mastery begins by naming, observing, and releasing them. Clarity, patience, and focus are not gifts. They are cultivated through relentless observation and disciplined attention. Ren's lessons echoed long after they left the pond. Even the simple act of walking back along the narrow mountain path became practice. Noticing each step, each stone, the rhythm of breath, the subtle sway of branches overhead, Hiro understood that every motion, every gesture, every choice could now be executed with awareness or wasted in distraction. By nightfall, Hiro's mind was still not empty, but anchored. He had confronted the reflections of his scattered attention and had begun to cultivate the calm center, from which true skill emerges. The restless currents of ego and fear were no longer hidden. They were known, named, and observed, waiting patiently to be mastered. Ren placed a hand lightly on Hiro's shoulder. You have taken the first step toward mastery beyond motion. Awareness transforms chaos into clarity. Your presence is now a weapon more precise than any sword. But the path is long. You must learn humility in action, for the mind untrained will always seek dominance over spirit. Hiro nodded, feeling both humbled and invigorated. The mirror pond had stripped away illusions of effortless skill, leaving only the raw terrain of attention, focus, and self-honesty. He was beginning to understand. Mastery is not in doing more. It is in seeing more, observing more, and aligning mind, body, and spirit with unwavering presence. The dawn light filtered through the thin mist of the mountain, casting long shadows across the dojo courtyard. Hiro rose with the memory of the mirror pond etched in his mind, the restless currents of ego, fear, and distraction now visible, acknowledged yet still unmastered. He felt a quiet tension in his chest, the lingering echo of shame and self-awareness. Master Ren's presence was nearby, silent as always, observing, waiting. But today, your path turns inward. Ren said, his voice steady and downward. You will learn that true mastery is forged not by action alone, but by humility. Hiro's brow furrowed. Humility. He had trained for years, fought opponents far and wide, earned respect in victories. Sweeping floors, carrying water assists teach strength. Yet he obeyed, sensing the authority behind the instruction. The first task was simple yet deliberate. Hiro was handed a broom and ordered to sweep the entire courtyard. At first, he moved quickly, brushing aside the dust with impatient strokes, eager to finish. Ren's gaze never wavered. Slow your motion. See each particle. Feel the rhythm of your body. This is as much a practice as any sword strike. Hiro paused, noticing the grains of dirt catching in the morning light, the way the bristles of the broom flexed with his effort, the subtle resistance of the stone beneath his feet. With each measured sweep, awareness deepened. The act, once menial, became a meditation. He felt the convergence of movement and attention, the union of effort and observation. Next, he was tasked with carrying buckets of water from a stream to the dojo kitchen. The weight was familiar, but the purpose was not in lifting. It was in observing the motion of muscles, the alignment of spine, the calm breath beneath effort. Each step required presence. Each drop of water was an opportunity to witness his own impatience and pride. Hiro's ego resisted, silently complaining about the triviality of the work. Yet as hours passed, the act itself became the teacher. Strength tempered by mindfulness, repetition tempered by patience. Master Ren introduced the principle of Mu no Kokoro, the empty heart. Act without attachment. Let go of expectation, recognition, and desire. Let the action exist in itself. Only then will skill flow from presence rather than pride. Hiro tried to embody this principle in every task. He tended the gardens, sweeping fallen leaves, arranging stones with deliberate precision. He served tea to younger students, bowing deeply without seeking acknowledgement. Each act demanded humility, patience, and awareness. Every moment where ego whispered, "You deserve praise. This is beneath you," Hiro met with quiet observation, naming the impulse, letting it pass. As days passed, he noticed subtle transformations. His body moved with less tension, yet more intent. Muscles reacted with economy, guided by calm awareness rather than anxious urgency. Actions that once felt heavy now carried an effortless precision. Mind, body, and spirit aligned, if only for moments, yet those moments stretched longer with each sunrise. The true lesson of humility began to crystallize. Mastery is less about adding skill and more about subtracting distraction, pride, and desire. Each sweeping motion, each measured step, each act of service became a practice in presence. The seemingly small, menial tasks revealed the hidden system that all warriors had practiced for centuries. Refinement of attention, patience, and selflessness. Even during rest, Hiro found the lessons lingering. Sitting quietly in the dojo hall, he felt a calm awareness infusing thought, breath, and posture. He understood that the same principle applied to combat, strategy, or any skill. Ego must be observed. Desire must be tempered, and attention must remain anchored in the present. Strength without humility is brittle. Skill without awareness is shallow. Master Ren observed these shifts silently, nodding only once. You are learning that the greatest battles are often fought in the smallest acts. Ego resists, pride rebels, yet through patient, deliberate labor, The spirit is tempered. You cannot master the sword until you master the heart. By the evening, Hiro felt a subtle shift within. His restless mind, once bouncing between victories and anxieties, now held pockets of calm, moments of centered awareness. The mirror pawn's reflection had become less chaotic, but the pawn's lesson would only fully resonate when combined with the discipline of humble, mindful practice. He understood now that the dojo's tasks were not punishment, nor were they trivial. They were tools, ancient systems of training the mind, refining presence, and cultivating an unshakable foundation. Mastery of technique alone was temporary. Mastery rooted in humility and awareness endured. Hiro's perspective began to transform. The impatient student, eager for visible achievements, began to embrace invisible progress. Each humble act, repeated with attention and care, was a stone laid on the foundation of lasting strength. The restless currents of pride, desire, and distraction were acknowledged, observed, and gradually brought under control. The storm arrived without warning. Thunder rolled over the mountains like the growl of a waking beast, and rain lashed against the stone paths, turning the air into a blur of sound and movement. Hiro followed Master Ren through the wind in sheets of water, his robe clinging to his skin, muscles tense, heart pounding not from exertion, but anticipation. Today was the trial of shadows. Today he would face the battlefield within. The Hall of Shadows loomed ahead, ancient and unyielding. Its walls were carved from stone worn smooth by generations of warriors, its ceiling high enough to swallow the echoes of a storm. Ryan gestured toward the entrance. Inside, there was no comfort, no guidance, no distraction. Tonight you confront every fear, every regret, every shadow you have ever hidden. The enemy is yourself. Sit. Observe. Survive yourself. Hiro stepped in, the storm's fury momentarily muffled by the thick stone walls. Darkness settled over him, punctuated only by the flicker of a single oil lamp in the corner. He lowered himself onto the cold floor, legs crossed, spine erect, hands resting lightly on his knees. Every instinct screamed to flee, to move, to act, to distract. Yet, he obeyed. Minutes stretched into hours. The mind is a restless storm of its own, and Hiro's raged with uninvited memories. Faces of those he had failed, opportunities squandered, moments of cowardice long buried. They rose, demanding attention, judgment, and shame. Every past failure collided with present fear. Every impulse of pride whispered its bitter insistence. The shadows were relentless. Hiro breathed. He named each thought as it arose: fear, regret, arrogance, anger. He observed them without reacting, without trying to escape or suppress. Slowly, the chaotic tide began to lose its power over him. Each recognition, each conscious breath, weakened the grip of the inner storms. Rin's lessons of Zanshin, the Mirror Pond, and Mu no Kokoro now coalesced into a single, powerful principle. Awareness transforms chaos into clarity. Hours blurred. Time lost meaning. Hiro felt exhaustion seep into his body, yet the mind paradoxically grew lighter. Every impulse he had once chased, reaction, pride, impatience, was now visible, anchored in awareness. He confronted the compulsive urge to measure himself against others, the hunger for approval, the terror of inadequacy. He faced his shadows fully, acknowledging their existence without allowing them to dictate action. The storm outside intensified, rattling the ancient structure, yet Hiro remained unmoved. In the darkness, he discovered the paradox of stillness. When all external stimuli scream for attention, the mind that observes without judgment becomes invincible. Ba-shi. Every past mistake became a teacher rather than a tormentor. Every fear a compass pointing toward growth. The night revealed that the fiercest battle is never against opponents, but against the unmastered mind. Ren's voice was distant yet penetrating. Do not seek to destroy the shadows. Name them. Observe them. They are part of you, and in recognition lies mastery. Courage is not absence of fear, but the strength to face it without flinching. Hiro's body ached, muscles stiff, eyes burning from darkness and strain. Yet within him, a transformation stirred. The restless impulses that had defined him, the compulsive need to act, to prove, to control, were no longer sovereign. They were known, witnessed, and held lightly. Strength no longer depended on motion. It arose from presence. He understood viscerally that mastery is the alignment of awareness, courage, and calm within. Dawn approached silently. The storm passed, leaving the mountains washed clean, the air crisp and charged. Hiro rose slowly, feeling the residual exhaustion as a companion rather than an adversary. He stepped from the Hall of Shadows, the first rays of sunlight illuminating his path. He was lighter, freer, yet profoundly aware that the shadows had not vanished. They had been met, acknowledged, and integrated into his being. Master Ren awaited outside, his calm presence steady against the golden morning. You have faced yourself and survived. The night was long, but the lesson is simple. The ultimate battlefield is within. All victories in life reflect this truth. Courage, awareness, and humility forge strength far greater than any sword can deliver. The hero nodded, understanding the depth of the ordeal. The trial of shadows had stripped away illusions, leaving only the raw, unshakable core of awareness and discipline. No applause, no recognition, no medals. Only the quiet, formidable power of mastery over self. The morning after the trial of shadows, the mountain air felt different. Lighter, clearer, charged with the stillness Hiro had never known. Each breath carried the memory of the night, the confrontation with fear, regret, and the restless currents of his mind. Muscle and spirit, once tense with impatience and pride, now moved with a subtle awareness, a quiet harmony. Master Ren stood at the edge of the courtyard, observing Hiro with the calm certainty of one who had walked countless paths of mastery. Today, Ren said, "You will learn that skill is nothing without stillness, and stillness nothing without skill." Mastery arises when both are joined, when action flows from presence rather than impulse. Hiro nodded, feeling a quiet resonance within. The lessons of Zanshin, the mirror pond, humility, and the trial of shadows had converged into a single truth. Awareness is the foundation of action, and action must be tempered by stillness. Ren began the day with basic forms, stances, strikes, and footwork. Yet unlike previous practice, every motion was deliberate, precise, measured. Hiro focused on breath and posture, allowing attention to guide the sword rather than the desire for speed or victory. The difference was immediate and profound. Strikes flowed like water, movements aligned naturally, and the mind, once scattered, now followed without interference. Observe the body as it moves, Ren instructed. Feel the weight shift, the energy transfer, the center of balance. Each strike is not an attempt to dominate, but a conversation between mind, body, and spirit. Hiro swung, paused, adjusted, and observed. Each repetition revealed subtleties previously unnoticed. The micro-adjustments of the wrist, the counterbalance of the core, the resonance between foot and ground. He understood that mastery was less about brute strength and more about alignment, precision guided by awareness. Ren then introduced exercises in response and observation. Pairs of students engaged in controlled sparring, each movement an opportunity to apply the lessons of stillness. Hiro noticed how the restless impulses of old hesitation, overreaction, impatience. He could anticipate motions without preemptive action, respond without tension, act without ego. The integration of mind, body, and spirit was no longer theory. It was lived, palpable, and powerful. Even mundane tasks became practice. Carrying firewood, arranging stones, or tending the garden were performed with meticulous attention. Each breath, each motion, each choice became a meditation, a reinforcement of the principle that mastery is cultivated in deliberate presence, not in frantic effort. Hiro realized that his previous restlessness had not been laziness or incompetence, but a misalignment of attention. When focus and stillness were applied together, ordinary actions became potent, extraordinary in their precision and efficiency. Ren emphasized the subtler aspects of training. Notice how stillness allows insight. The mind, unclouded by distraction, sees opportunity, perceives patterns, and acts with authority. The sword, the body, even the mind, all follow clarity. Hiro practiced long into the day, experiencing moments of fluid integration, where movement felt effortless yet intentional. The body obeyed the mind anchored in presence, and the spirit harmonized with both. There was no strain, no compulsion, no desire to impress. The energy flowed naturally, precise, deliberate, and unshakable. By afternoon, Hiro's confidence had shifted. He no longer measured skill by external achievement, but by the alignment of intention and action. Where once impatience had ruled, calm focus now prevailed. Every strike, step, and gesture embodied the lessons learned from stillness, humility, and inner confrontation. Ren observed silently, then spoke. A strength without stillness is wild. Stillness without strength is hollow. True mastery is the union of both, a presence that informs every action, a mind that governs every impulse. This is the path of the warrior, the essence of Zanshin in practice. Hiro felt a deep satisfaction, not in accomplishment, but an integration. He had transcended the restless student he had been, merging patience with effort, reflection with execution, awareness with skill. The path ahead remained long, yet he now carried the tools to traverse it. Presence, humility, focus, and the calm authority of a mind trained to observe and respond rather than react. As the sun began to dip behind the mountains, painting the dojo in golden light, Hiro paused, reflecting on the journey. The restless currents of fear, ego, and distraction had not vanished, but he had learned to face them, to channel them, and to move with clarity and purpose. Mastery was no longer a distant goal. It was a lived experience, cultivated through deliberate action, anchored in awareness, and guided by the quiet wisdom of stillness. The morning sun rose over the mountain, spilling light across the dojo and illuminating the stone paths Hiro had walked countless times. Yet today felt different. Every shadow, every rustle of leaves, every whisper of wind carried meaning. Hiro's body moved with quiet deliberation, each step deliberate, each breath anchored in awareness. The lessons of stillness, humility, and inner confrontation had merged, not as abstract principles, but as lived reality. Master Ren stood at the edge of the courtyard, calm as ever, watching the young warrior. "Today you leave the mountain," he said. "Remember this, mastery is often invisible. The world may never recognize it, yet it shapes every choice, every action, every response. True power does not demand acknowledgement. It exists quietly, unseen, yet absolute." Hiro nodded, feeling the truth in Ren's words. He thought back to the mirror pond, to the trial of shadows, to the long hours of humbling labor and deliberate practice. The transformations he had undergone were profound yet silent. Few had witnessed the struggle, the fear, the discipline, the victory of self over self. Yet this invisible mastery was the most formidable of all, for it required no applause, no trophies, no audience. He stepped outside the dojo, the crisp mountain air filling his lungs. Every movement was measured, every gesture precise. The weight of unacknowledged discipline rested lightly on his shoulders, a quiet armor forged in patience and awareness. The sword at his side felt lighter, yet his presence was heavier, more assured. Hiro's gaze swept across the valley below, the world he had once approached with impatience and desire. And he realized that mastery was not something to wield over others, but something to inhabit fully within oneself. Ren spoke again, his voice calm yet carrying authority. "The samurai code is not about glory. It is a system of mind, body, and spirit. It is a method to cultivate unshakable focus, courage, and presence. Every action you take now will reflect the training of years, the quiet discipline that no one sees." Hiro walked down the mountain path, each step a meditation. The path was steep, rocky, and treacherous in places, yet he moved with a confidence that came not from strength alone, but from alignment. His mind was present, his spirit unshaken. Every decision, from shifting weight on a loose stone to choosing a path through the forest, was guided by deliberate attention. He understood now that mastery is not performed for spectators. It is a state of being. Along the way, he encountered villagers, travelers, and fellow students returning to their homes. Some bowed politely, some ignored him entirely. Hiro felt neither pride nor desire for recognition. The invisible mastery he carried was not diminished by indifference nor inflated by acknowledgement. It existed quietly in the choices he made, the calm authority in his movements, and the clarity in his mind. As the sun climbed higher, Hiro reflected on the journey that had brought him here. The restless ambition of a student, the mirror of distraction, the humbling labors of service, the trial of shadows, and the cultivation of stillness. Each lesson had been internalized, invisible yet potent, shaping his spirit in ways that would manifest naturally in action. He understood that this was the essence of the Zanshin method: perpetual awareness, deliberate practice, humility, and inner courage. Ren's final words echoed in his mind. A strength without visibility is still strength. Skill without recognition is still skill. Mastery is carried within, not displayed. Live quietly, act deliberately, and the spirit of the warrior will guide every choice. Hiro paused on a ridge overlooking the valley. The wind whispered through the pines, carrying the scent of earth and stone. He felt a profound calm, an alignment of mind, body, and spirit that was impervious to distraction, fear, or desire. The path ahead in life and in practice would present challenges, yet he now possessed the tools to navigate them with unwavering focus and presence. He drew his sword briefly, feeling the balance in his hands, the tension in his body, the steady rhythm of breath. Every motion was deliberate, every decision informed by the lessons of the mountain. Hiro realized that mastery was not a destination, but a continuous practice. A silent, invisible path walked moment by moment, choice by choice. Descending the mountain, Hiro no longer sought applause, recognition, or reward. His victories would be unseen, his discipline unacknowledged. Yet his presence, clarity, and unshakable focus would resonate in every action, subtle yet profound. The journey of mastery was complete in its form, yet eternal in its practice. The wind carried the final lesson. The greatest battles are fought within, and the most ruthless mastery is invisible, internal, and unyielding. Hiro walked onward, a warrior not defined by accolades, but by the silent, steadfast strength of self-conquest. True mastery is invisible. Strength, skill, and focus arise not from recognition, but from disciplined awareness, humility, presence, and courage within the mind and spirit.